I was kind of reminded about a 16-hour rule that short haul can use once a week. I remember I'd forgotten all about it because I used to be over the road, and I remember reading about it, but you can't do it when you're over the road. So stuff you can't do, you just forget about because you think, well, you can't do it. But it's a 16-hour rule where if you return to the place of duty every day for 5 consecutive days, whatever, all week, if you return to that same place, then you can use once a week a 16-hour rule where you can extend your hours instead of having to use the emergency where like uh, unforeseen weather or accident or something like that, which is what it used. No, it didn't used to be like. I mean, it is. It's that anyway. But anyway, I remember reading that and saying, well, that's where I need to be is short haul, so I can get that extended because a lot of times shipper receiver they take an exuberant amount of time. It doesn't matter where you are in this country. There's some people they'll schedule something and it's like you have an appointment and then you get there and you're sitting around almost there's been people I was just almost a complete day. They want you to go in there with fresh hours because you have to once you get loaded you have to deliver that product like the next morning or something. You have to drive as soon as you get loaded. You have to drive and basically be at that the your point of receiving the next in your tour of duty or not tour of duty not uh, in like one the next morning. I don't know what you want to call it, but then the shipper, you get there and the shipper takes an exuberant amount of time to load you. And these brokers, these dispatches, they all try to lay the responsibility. Here you got this big giant corporation, two big giant corporations squeezing together on an individual driver that's job is they'll put I don't know what they do, but I'll guarantee you if you don't if when you say you refuse to deliver because you're out of hours and you say, hey, I can't make this drop time. Yeah, in a reasonable amount of time to load, I could have made this drop. But since they took 5 or 6 hours to load, or I've seen some guys say they've waited 8 hours to load, and then they have a certain amount of time which would take a 10 hour, 9-10 hours of driving time to get to the next stop, and they'd have to be there uh, in their driving times. And now the cops will say, hey, it's on the driver to tell these companies, which these people that write these laws, you go to a judge, the cop, none of these people are under hours of service. They're not under a logbook. They're not under you have a certain amount of time. It starts here and goes here. They're on a clock. Okay, they work 8 hours, and after 8 hours, well, I got to get off at 8 hours. That's it. They don't, if they work over 8 hours, they're not fined. They're not fired. They don't have stuff written up about, oh, you worked more than 8 hours. We're going to deduct uh, service points or whatever for your next. We're going to review you and put it on the review that you're punished as a driver for not doing a job which these corporations, you got you got the business you work for, the business you load for, well, three corporate, and the business it's receiving. And all three of these corporations are pushing their power onto this one person that has to tell them, these three corporations, you people are idiots. That would get you fired because, well, he's a, nowadays they're using some subordinate. You can't argue with anybody. You can't say, hey, I'm right here. And they sit there, well, I've had multiple companies. I've quit so many places. They say, hey, why don't you just do 2 logbooks? I say, hey, man, I ain't running 2 logbooks. If you can't coordinate your efforts, if this country is that messed up where you're taking all 3 of these corporations, you're trying to squeeze this one person, say, hey, you got to make up my mistake, and my mistake, and you got to take it and make it your mistake, which you're fined for, you go to jail for. You'll never get another job because we're going to take your license, and you have to have a license to get another job because you have to have a vehicle to be able to go to your job. If you fill out an application, well, do you have a vehicle that you can, the reliable vehicle? You say, well, no, I don't have a license because, well, I worked here, and they don't want to hear that story. All they want to do is hear, yeah, I have a license. They don't want questions. That's the problem. All these big giant people, they got their questions, and they're so dull-minded. If you go to another place and they'll say, well, I don't want to hear that story. The story I want to hear is you're going to comply with all laws and comply with all our necessities of doing your job, which we're going to implement after you realize what you got yourself into by going to a company. I've been to a lot of companies where they wanted you to work and say, hey, get together with so-and-so and run 2 logbooks. And I said, no, I'm not going to do 2 logbooks. And I would end up, I know there's a lot of people say, oh, well, that's what they're known for. Truck drivers are known to have 2 logbooks. Well, they're also supposedly known to be able to do, okay, there's these drivers. It's almost like there's batches of people. Here's the popular drivers where all these corporate companies say, well, we want to keep these popular drivers. And they're either a company that says, well, our popular drivers are somebody that'll run 2 logbooks and they'll get all the job. They'll do all the mistakes that the dispatchers and receivers and shippers make in their coordination efforts. They're going to lay up on this driver, and he's running 2 logbooks, and he'll get it done, and we don't, everybody's backed until they get in trouble. As soon as that person hits trouble, these people back out and say, hey, because if I've never heard of a dispatcher, I've never heard of a shipper, I've never heard of a receiver going to jail, individually getting fined, ticketed, and on their license, their driver's license, marks upon them for having people, because they can all deny it. They could just say, well, that's what the driver said, but I never said that. I mean, do you see have it in writing? And if you had there's people that had recordings of dispatchers, but if you don't tell them that you're recording it, then it's not submissible in court. And if you tell them, then they're not gonna say what they normally say to you. It's like a cop. If everybody knows there's a cop sitting in this same place every day, they're not gonna go speeding by this place. If that cop is in an unmarked car and nobody knows about it, he changes the place, unknown car, and they go speeding by it all the time, and then he pulls in there with this unknown car, he's going to catch these speeders. But if people know about this cop and they all go by there every day and they know this cop's here, they don't go speeding by it. There might be one person that doesn't go that route and go speeding by it in their car and gets a ticket. But the rest of people, that's how all these laws are. These people, these receivers, these dispatchers, these shippers, they don't have these individuals getting fined. They don't have individuals having marks on their driver's license to where they can lose their license and not get another job, lose their driving privilege because of their remarks. They're trying to tell somebody something, and this individual says, well, I can't do it. Well, we don't want you drive all the way there. This driver speaks out for his rights and what he's told by the FMCSA to do, but he's told you have a company that you're working for. They don't want you talking to these people saying, hey, I can't haul that. I can't do this. I can't sit around here for 8 hours and then deliver 10 hours away in 12 hours. You're gonna take 8 hours to load me. I need 10 hours to get where I'm going, and I got to be there in 17 hours. Well, you can't drive 18-hour day. You can't, so you're going to have to take a 10-hour break, and that's going to leave what? That's going to be whatever, 24 hours plus an extra 4 hours. So it's going to take you 28 hours, 29 hours with traffic, and because they all say, well, they'll, and that's how these people are. It's all this government, these cops. They they regulate all this on this individual whose license is on the line, whose job is on the line, who can't say anything to anybody because this person will say, well, we don't want your truck here, and then they'll call the place and they'll say, this person you sent is complaining about our loading procedure taking too long. And this company that you work for say, well, we don't want our driver doing that. That's because they want the trucks in there, and they want them loaded on time, and they're gonna talk to the driver and say, oh, you can't do this, or they're gonna say, well, yeah, we know this. I've had, there are places that'll say, well, okay, you can't make it, and we know you can't make it, or you get in there and they say, hey, it's taking too long to load, this ain't gonna be able to make it. Of course, there are drivers out there, I don't know if there is any more with these new ELDs, but do it, but I'm sure they shortcut ways around it. There's always somebody doing something, and then they try to spread it through the industry to get everybody to do it, just like two or three logbooks. And but everybody's getting this individual who loses his job. He has the shipper. He can't go back into the shipper now. He has to leave there, and his company's mad at him for speaking up for his rights as a driver. And even if he tells them and they don't tell him, and they're still, and this driver might go in and say, hey, did anybody? No. Well, they were going to call in, and they said, what? We don't do that. Why are you complaining to us? So here's this individual, which all these different giant corporations, from the government, the FMCSA, the troopers and cops, who are troopers and DOT, they're all forced against this one individual. The corporations, the shippers, the receivers, the dispatchers, they're all against this one individual, and the FMCSA says, this one individual, you have to go against all these people, lose your job so we can replace you, lose your job so we can, and that's all it is. That's all they're saying. They think there's nothing to a job, and nobody else in the industry that holds these any rules into place. So yeah, there's nobody else getting fined except this one individual who keeps losing his job because, well, I've just seen so many people that say they've lost. I've just seen these drivers online saying, well, the dispatcher used to run logbooks, but now, ELD come out, so he turned into a dispatcher, and he wants everybody to cheat on the ELDs. He'll scream and yell. You get online and you see these people saying, hey, any reason, but that's how the industry is, and that's how it's always been. They get you get these drivers in here, they find a way to take money out of a driver's pocket in so many different ways. This, that, and the other. All these services, like I'm not even going to go into it. How these people, I've had people do oil changes. If I'm out on the road and you have to get your oil changed out, well, this is when I had my own truck, but you have to get oil changed out on the road, and you pull into a place, and I had a guy come up to me and said, I just started working here. I ain't never changed the oil on my own vehicle, and they hired me. He said, I don't know anything about mechanics. He goes, I got hired here, and I don't know anything about it. And I'm like, what is he telling me for? My truck's sitting there over the pit getting its oil changed. He comes up to me, starts telling me he's never changed oil in it. He said he had never changed oil in his car. But he said they hired him. I think this was in Atlanta or something like that. And I was like, okay. And there's not much to it. And they should be, none of these people, they say, okay, we showed you where the drain plug was, and this is what the grease gun you use to grease these points, but they don't give them. There is no, when you're on the job training, that's gone out the. I think that died in World War II after they found out Hitler was training people for jobs. They got rid of on the job training, actual training people. They just say instead of taking them through a training where they continually have a training program for on the job training. So that they're always refreshed, and any updates that they're done. I haven't had every job that's in the country. Of course not, I haven't. But the people, this country is too messed up, and there's places that like those ISO 9001s where they're everybody's saying, oh, they're the most squared away. Everybody in offices that are sitting around in offices that have everybody else do their dirty work say, I messed up and we need this, and they're always doing that. They're always, I messed up and we need this done, short order, everybody get on it. Even though this guy's job, all these people's jobs, if they're working individually, they have a certain time frame. They all have certain time frames, but this guy messed up saying that this guy's time frame just got shortened, or he messed up and he said, oh, it's due right away. All these people have to pull off their jobs that are also on time frames and help this person jump on this or jump on this or jump on this guy. And then they're all losing time because of this one individual messing up on the time frame. And that's how it is all across all these industries. And it's ridiculous. And they're all doing it to please some customer. Customer says, I have my car in there, or I have whatever. I was having a house built, and I needed built, or I have an office building, and we want to scoot up the time. And if this company that's building the house or whatever it is, building whatever, and they say, well, we have a certain time frame we do it in, they say, well, we want it done more, and if these people are new to the business and they're trying to expand their business in there, they're going to try to comply and say, okay, we'll do that. And then this person in the office says, okay, we agree to that. Now all these laborers are going to have to updo and having to cut time back to meet this now new scheduled time, because this idiot in the office is saying, well, you only have a certain amount of time to get this built, because they're trying to comply with this person over here saying, well, I want this done a little earlier, and this person is trying to just manipulate, because they're saying, well, we have all this pull and we've been around and we know that you're a small company. They're not going to tell anybody that, but that's how they are. That's exactly their attitude. We have pull to say that we want to see you work harder, faster, and get that built quicker. It's just for no reason at all. And then it's lacking reliability. A lot. If it's like Musk, you look at some of those videos on some of that. This guy's tearing apart some of these Teslas, and he's showing some of the seals around the batteries. They aren't that good, and all this stuff. And they're actually trying to go against these people that are trying to rebuild Teslas for themselves, or just because it's so interesting because it's a new concept. And they're tearing apart these batteries, and they're tearing about all these things, and they're getting all these ideas. They're saying, wow, look at this. This is junk, or this is a good idea. And then the corporation, Tesla's trying to come, trying to sort of manipulate without anybody realizing what they're manipulating. And then they're going to get certain groups that are saying, well, okay, we see what they're doing. They're showing a bad manufacturing process, a quick manufacturing process, which is from these people that are manipulating. And then that corporate, if they're say they're a CEO or not a CEO, but high up in the ladder, and they're going to spread it, whatever, saying, what can we do? And then to get these people, one individual is saying, wow, I see a problem with the seal around these batteries, and a lot of leakage of water get in there, and thus negating the whatever the, not security of the battery, but the compromising battery seal. It's allowing water and stuff in there in this battery, and it'll corrode and it'll cut the life back. It might cut short circuits. It might do a lot of stuff to negate the life of that battery. And then the company will say, well, your battery's bad, but it won't say that, the seal, the manufacturing seal around there is trash. But we're not going to tell you that. We're going to tell you it's a bad battery and you have to replace it. You're out of warranty, or I don't know what the warranty is on these Teslas. But they're going to say, maybe they do replace batteries. I don't know. But is there a is the individual consumer like this guy that's tearing apart all these Teslas? There's no individual consumer out there tearing apart Tesla. These individual consumers aren't watching this. There might be some that are watching this guy tear apart these Teslas and say, "Oh, we've got a problem here. There's a problem here," and are these couple of these people that are doing Teslas. I'm just using this as a reference. That's how a lot of products are, and these individuals tear it apart. And then these corporations, unless, it's like all these recalls. Anyway, they're all trying to go against this one individual. They try to create a law. They're actually trying to keep this guy from getting parts for Teslas, new parts, which now if it's understandable, if the parts